If you think you know the female body, get ready to have your mind blown. Because there is a major organ of female pleasure that almost nobody talks about. Almost nobody even knows about it. Certainly not most women, and not most sex educators. And that is the perineal sponge. One of the most overlooked, understimulated, and game-changing part of a woman's anatomy. And once you understand it, you will understand why some forms of sex feel deep, emotional, full, and why certain angles or types of play feel unbelievably good for her. This also kind of tends to be the gateway to butt stuff. Tune in for that as well. All right, let's dive in. Number one, what is it? What is the perineal sponge? It is a soft, cushiony region of highly sensitive, arousal responsive erectile tissue in the area where the backside of the vaginal opening and the tissues in the front of the rectum are neighbors. I want you to think of it as like a small spongy pillow that plumps up when she's turned on. And just like the clitoris, it fills with blood during arousal, which makes it thicker and more sensitive and more responsive to pressure. It's actually part of her whole arousal network of erectile tissue. The external clitoris is just the tip. Underneath the surface, there are clitoral legs, vestibular bulbs, the G-spot, and the perineal sponge sitting up behind the perineum. And when all of this is engorged, sex feels amazing. It is hotter, deeper, fuller, and it is way more intense for her. Why does this cute little sponge matter? Well, when it is engorged with blood, it changes how her whole pelvic region feels. It puffs up, making every sensation more sensitive and more intense. The vaginal entrance can feel more snug and responsive, but because of that, penetration feels better. It can feel deeper, it can feel more orgasmic. She can feel more of you. But here's the other really wild part about that. Because the perineal sponge is connected to her internal clitoral network, when it fills with blood, it doesn't just make sex feel more intense. It can also make deep pressure feel like a more spreading, more whole pelvis kind of sensation. And this is actually backed by science. Studies using brain imaging show that different kinds of genital stimulation can map onto different sensory pathways in the brain, which helps explain why deep internal pressure can feel qualitatively different than external stimulation alone. In other words, when this sponge is engorged and you are pressing against it, you are not just hitting one spot, you are activating more of her entire orgasmic system. Now, we're gonna talk about how to find it. But first, if you are the kind of guy who's still watching a video about a tiny hidden structure inside of the pelvic floor, then know that you are already way ahead of the curve. And if you wanna take your edge even further, you've got to check out my new book, Harder, Better, Longer, Stronger. It is for men who want to understand sex, confidence, and connection on a way deeper level. How arousal, anatomy, emotions, and the nervous system all work together to create the best, most confident and connected sex of your life. It is a step-by-step roadmap so that you can understand and master pleasure, overcome performance anxiety, develop orgasm control, and of all things, communicate about it. Things that most men are never taught, but absolutely should be. If that sounds like you, this book is the best and probably smallest investment you will ever make. Go to hblsbook.com, click on the link in the description to grab your copy. All right, on to number 3, how to find it. Getting practical. The simplest way to find and locate the perineal sponge is through the vagina. So with a clean, lubricated finger and with her already aroused, slide 1 or 2 fingers inside with your palm facing down. So your palm is facing her anus. Now, usually men go up to the front wall for the G-spot, but this time I want you to actually gently curl your fingers towards her rectum. Now, the perineal sponge isn't very deep. It is like usually within the first inch to 2 inches inside of her body. It's going to feel like a cushion that's going to give a little push back when you press into it. You can also access it from the anal side. Just make sure that she's into it, that you're using tons of lube, and that she's totally relaxed. Quick safety note, never ever go from anus to vagina without first thoroughly washing up with warm water and soap, or even better yet, switch to a fresh glove or a new condom. If you insert a finger into the anus and press gently up towards the vagina, you will feel that same pillowy resistance. That is the other side of the sponge. And if you really want to get fancy, you can create compression, aka pressure from both sides at once. This might look like 1 or 2 fingers in the vagina pressing down, while your other hand, just 1 or 2 fingers inside of her anus, presses up. Or if you don't want to insert your finger into the anus, you can actually push from outside on the perineum. Or you could have her say, wear a small butt plug. All right, number 4, how to stimulate it. So we've discussed how to find it, but let's talk about what actually makes it feel good. Because the perineal sponge is arousal responsive erectile tissue, and that means it needs time to fill with blood. You cannot skip arousal and go straight for the sponge and expect for magic to come out. It's not like a genie lamp. You just rub it and poof. First, you have to warm her up. So start with the basics. You already know them: kissing, clitoral stimulation, full body touch, the stuff that makes her feel relaxed and turned on. Once she's aroused, slide your fingers into her vagina and find that squishy part again. And instead of in and out thrusting, think slow, intentional pressure. You can gently make scoops like this, or little U shapes, like you're on a tiny little half pipe. Most women will report they like more consistent touch there. If you want to take it up a notch, you can add extra pressure by putting some pressure on her perineum, the skin between her vagina and anus, or inside of her anus, which creates a sort of sandwich effect around the sponge. And for many women, that is what goes into uncharted pleasure territory. Pay attention to all of her responses. If there's any pain or discomfort, back away. You don't need to do this. You can come back in the future. Maybe she's into it, but she wants to explore it through toys or anal play. Like I said earlier, a small butt plug or a finger in the anus while you are stimulating her vaginally can provide that sort of constant pressure on the sponge that feels so good. So think slow, think rhythmic, stay tuned in. This isn't a jackhammering thing. This is building and holding sensation. Number 5, how to bring it into sex. Now, if you thought the perineal sponge was just for foreplay, think again. It's something that most men don't think to stimulate during intercourse. Any position that sends your penis towards the back wall of the vagina can be engaging this sponge. Now, this is true whether her legs are together or they are spread. Deep spooning can also be great for this because your angle tends to be more backward than upward. Now, if she enjoys anal play, a small plug, a finger along with vaginal penetration, double penetration can feel so good and so powerful. But even if you never go near her butt, you can still play with this, again, by stimulating the perineum. At the end of the day, just think about how you can amplify what you're already doing. And there you have it. Now, I'm not giving you this so that you can overthink or stress about it. I'm just showing you that women's pleasure isn't random. It's architecture, it's science. There are layers, networks, pressure points. Understanding the perineal sponge is one of the hidden cheat codes that separates good sex from great sex. And again, most men never learn this, but most women don't either. So the second that you bring curiosity, patience, a little anatomy know-how into the bedroom, you're already approaching the top 1% of lovers. And if you want to make sure to secure your spot in the 1%, make sure to grab my book. It's finally out. Over a decade of coaching, 2 decades of researching and learning everything that I could about sexuality, and I put it all in the book. Anatomy, erotic psychology, nervous system attunement, confidence, orgasm mastery, hblsbook.com. I'm so proud of it. I'm so excited to share it with you. Please go grab it. I'm Caitlin B. I'll see you here next week.